Imagine waking up 2,000 years ago. No phone, no alarm, no schedule. Just the sound of wind, the smell of dust, and the distant noise of a crowd already gathering outside. You step out and ask someone what's happening. They point to one man standing at the center of it all. Some people in that crowd believe he is the Son of God. Others think he is dangerous. The religious leaders want him gone. The Roman soldiers are watching him carefully. And today, you are going to follow him for an entire day. His name is Jesus. And before this day is over, you will understand why half the world stopped everything to follow him, and the other half wanted him dead. This is what that day would have actually looked like.
The first thing that surprises you is where he slept. Not a palace, not even a proper house. Jesus had no permanent home. He once told a follower who wanted to join him, "Foxes have dens, and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." But this particular morning, he was already gone before anyone woke up. You find him alone on a hillside, completely still, praying in the quiet before the world got loud. The disciples once begged him, "Lord, teach us to pray." They had seen prayer their entire lives. Whatever he was doing felt completely different. By the time he comes back down that hill, something is already happening below, and it is bigger than you expected. And when I say crowds, I don't mean a small gathering. Hundreds, sometimes thousands, pressing in from every direction. Here is something that will stop you. Some of these people walked 3 or 4 days just for a chance to be near him. No guarantee he would speak to them. No guarantee he would even notice them. They came anyway. Look around at who is actually here. A mother holding a sick child. Every doctor failed her. Every coin is gone. This is her last hope. A blind man who walked 2 days just to be near someone he has never actually seen. A tax collector standing at the very edge of the crowd, half expecting to be told to leave. Pharisees in spotless robes, watching with the specific expression of men who have already decided they don't like what they are seeing. And Roman soldiers at the back, silent, counting heads, writing reports. Poor, broken, powerful, desperate, suspicious, faithful, every kind of person. One crowd, one man at the center. But standing here, you feel something nobody told you to expect. This does not feel entirely safe. The Pharisees are watching every single move he makes. The Roman soldiers are watching the size of this crowd grow by the hour. Any crowd this large gathering around one man makes the empire very nervous. One wrong move could change everything, and yet nobody leaves. Then he starts moving, and everyone follows. Most people picture Jesus standing still, teaching in one place. That is not what this looked like. He walked constantly through brutal heat, rocky hills, dusty valleys, village after village. But here is the part that genuinely surprises people. Many of the people behind you right now have no idea where they are going. No destination announced, no plan shared, no timeline given. Jesus would simply start walking, and hundreds of people would fall into step behind him, without knowing where the road ended or where they would sleep that night. And here is the thing that makes that even more remarkable. In a single journey, Jesus and his disciples would cover distances that would take a modern person several hours by car, on foot, in sandals, in the Middle Eastern heat, and people followed the entire way because whatever was happening around this man felt more important than knowing the plan. Then he stops, sits down on a hillside,
and the crowd presses in close. Now, before he speaks, consider something surprising. Most of the people sitting around you right now have never held a copy of Scripture in their lives. In first century Galilee, scrolls were expensive and rare. Ordinary farmers, fishermen, and mothers in this crowd knew about God only through what they heard in synagogues or from memory passed down through generations. They had never had direct access to the words themselves. And then Jesus opens his mouth. Every religious teacher in that era borrowed their authority from someone else. They quoted ancient texts. They referenced respected scholars. They needed the weight of history behind every single word. Jesus stood up and said something that made the entire crowd go silent. You have heard it said, but I say to you, no permission, no references, no borrowed authority, like someone who simply already knew. By afternoon, something is becoming very clear. Nobody left. The crowd that was here at sunrise is bigger now, not smaller. People keep arriving, and nobody has eaten. The disciples start to panic. They pull Jesus aside and say, "Send the people away so they can go buy food." Jesus looks at them calmly and says, "You give them something to eat." They stare at him. One disciple finds a boy in the crowd carrying 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fish. That is it. That is all there is. 5,000 men are sitting on that hillside, not counting women and children. Jesus takes the bread, looks up to heaven, gives thanks, breaks it, and hands it to the disciples to distribute. And it doesn't run out. They keep distributing, and it keeps coming. 5,000 people eat until they are full. When it is over, the disciples collect 12 baskets of leftover fragments. Now look at the men closest to him. The disciples have been with Jesus every single day. They have heard every teaching. They have watched every miracle. And they are still constantly confused. They argued about which one of them was the greatest. They told children to stop bothering Jesus. They panicked in a storm while he slept calmly in the boat beside them. They fell asleep when he asked them to stay awake and pray with him for 1 hour. These were not polished, confident religious figures. They were impulsive, ordinary, deeply human, following someone they believed in completely but couldn't fully explain. And if you were being honest with yourself right now, standing in this crowd, watching all of this unfold, you feel exactly the same way. The Pharisees have been watching all day without moving. By evening, they are not just uncomfortable, they are dangerous. Not because Jesus did something evil, because he did something they could not control. He healed a man on the Sabbath when the law said rest. He sat down and ate with people that respectable society had completely written off. He looked at people that religion had declared beyond forgiveness and told them they were forgiven. And every single time he did it, the crowd loved him more, which meant the Pharisees were losing their grip. You can feel it in the air by late afternoon. The whispered conversations just out of earshot. The eyes that follow his every movement. The questions they ask him that are not really questions at all, but traps, carefully constructed and waiting. This is not a comfortable place to be standing, and everyone here can sense it. As the sun goes down, the crowds begin to thin. Jesus is tired, in the way any human being gets tired after a day like this one. And yet you watch him continue. There are still people at the edges, still reaching out, still hoping for one more moment of his attention. He doesn't turn a single one of them away. You watch that, and something shifts inside you that you didn't expect. Eventually, the disciples find a place to rest for the night, and Jesus, once again, quietly slips away alone, back up the hillside, back into the silence, back to prayer.
You lie down exhausted and full of questions you don't even know how to begin asking. What is he? What is actually happening here? Where does all of this end? Nobody around you knows either. Following Jesus for one day was not what you imagined. It was not peaceful or comfortable or quiet. It was long walks with no clear destination, crowds pressing in so tight you could barely breathe, tension from people who wanted him gone, miracles that left your mind completely blank. But somewhere in the middle of all of it, something happened that you didn't see coming.
The strangest part of this day was not the miracle. It was not the crowd. It was not even the moment 5 loaves fed 5,000 people. It was the moment you realized that after spending just one day near him, the last thing you wanted to do was leave, and you finally understood something. Nobody who followed Jesus did it because it was easy or safe or comfortable. They did it because once you spent a single day near him, nothing else felt like enough. They came back the next morning, and the morning after that, and 2,000 years later, people are still showing up. Maybe now you understand why.